Hear me. This is a lot better. Thank you for having me here. This session is about AI-powered development using Copilot and ChatGPT. My name is Niels de Vijter. On Drupal.org, my nick is NDF. I'm the founder of CodeLift AI, expert in Drupal 7 to Drupal 10 upgrades. I love music and my family. In this talk, we will discuss 4 things. The fast evolution in generative AI, specifically Copilot and ChatGPT for developers, then some methods for better results, and then there is the closing. I try to finish this in about 25 minutes, and then we have room for discussion and questions. Large language models take over the world by storm. Who is using ChatGPT every day? Quite a lot of people here, but not everybody. Just a couple of weeks ago, a coworker of mine, he told me that he used ChatGPT for the first time, and he also told me that he was not impressed by the outcome of his session with ChatGPT. I was quite surprised, because Copilot I use since 2 years, and ChatGPT since 1.5 years, something like that, or when it started all the time. What is a large language model? Large language model, also known as LLM, plays a very important role in generative AI. It generates and understands text, image, sound, and more, and it's trained on immense amounts of data. In essence, it's an autocomplete machine. So you have a prompt, a question, and it gives you an answer. In this example, the prompt is please finish this, and the answer is sentence or task. Can be multiple things. Important to know is that the answer is selected based on statistics. So it's a probability and a variance part. It's not the case that one input always gives you the same output. The model size is really huge, billions of parameters. What you see here is that this is 2018 and this is 2024, and on this axis is the model size. So here is just 100 million parameters, and this is 1,000 billion or 1 trillion parameters. ChatGPT is even more, it's almost 2 trillion. And Llama 3 is almost open source. It's been released super recently, a month ago, 400 billion parameters. You can make the comparison with the model size with a car engine, where more horsepower is in a way better. And that's the same here. So more parameters means more intelligence. It's more capable, it can do more. In the context of writing code, these systems are not good in writing code, and then GPT-4 is, which is an interesting thing to see that there is at some point they are able to execute new tasks, and before they are not. I have a couple of visual examples prepared to show you the spectacular evolution of these LLMs. Midjourney is an image generation model. It's a service you can use online. They started in February 2022 with V1, and in December, almost 2 years later, 2023, they had version 6. So the prompt here is a diner in the United States. A diner is a restaurant. So it starts with, I think it's gibberish. I don't not really know what this is. Same here, but you do see there are letters. Now this looks like neon. Not that bad, but you cannot read it. There are not real words. And then here we have dinner is served, so you can read it. There's also scenery involved. It's at night. Resolution is a lot better. So this is in 2 years' time. another example. This is the Eiffel Tower in Paris. You know, because this is clearly the Eiffel Tower, but on the left it's the version 1 from 2 years ago. It's really weird. One more is food. It starts with, it's just a hamburger of course, from those two to this one, but this one looks still, in a way, looks good, but still fake. I would not eat it. And then we have this one, and actually it looks really good. It looks quite delicious. And fun fact, just a couple of months ago, AI-generated food images are preferred over real ones. You wouldn't expect that, but that's the case for food images. 2022, 2023, really, really fast. But that's not it. 1 month ago, OpenAI published Sora video generation. I'm not sure what this is, it's not food, but it looks really spectacular. It's a series of images, it's high resolution, it has it all. And again, in 2 years' time, 26 months, from this picture of the Eiffel Tower to this 4K realistic video. Very spectacular. And this is, of course, image and video generation. So in a way there is a concept of a tipping point where something first is not good, not good, not good. Then it's okay-ish. There was this hamburger that was okay-ish, and then it's better than human. And the hamburger, I call it better than human, but it passed the tipping point where now the next question is, where is this tipping point in software development, or otherwise, where is software development, how close it is, how far are we away from this tipping point? Two tools now, GitHub Copilot and OpenAI ChatGPT. GitHub Copilot is a tool that it's an AI inside your IDE, Visual Code, PHP Storm. It's an autocomplete interface for code, and the price starts at $10 per month. This is an example from the GitHub Copilot website. So the developer typed in what he or she wanted, create a new button component, and it generates the code. This is TypeScript, and interesting is these models are capable of all kinds of languages. So it could do the same for Twig, or JavaScript, or PHP, Python. It knows it all. This is also from the GitHub Copilot website. So this one is a bit different. On the right, there is autocomplete function, and then the coder, the software developer, copied the code to the left, which has a chat interface and ask questions about it. In this case, generate some unit test for it. This chat functionality is possible in Visual Code, but it's not available in PHP Storm. Imagine when you don't have a tool like this and you need to write it yourself. It will take a lot of time, and will also, you need to think about a lot of things, and this is just there for you to use. Then ChatGPT. It's an AI web interface like Google. It's a chat interface for code and spoken languages. It's the best LLM on the market. Internally, it's used the number GPT-4. It costs $20 per month, and there's also a free version, but that one is less capable, especially for coding. With spoken languages, I mean that you can write an article with it, or a poem, all these type of things, not only code, where Copilot does only code. This is a little screencast recorded myself of the ChatGPT interface. Write a unit test case for the PHP time class. This is recorded real time, so it's not instant, but it's quite fast. It generates code, it explains what's going on, why it makes decisions. Now it goes to the part how to run a test. And I just ask them one thing. The more specific you are, the better the answers become. And in large language models, they call this prompting. So asking questions, they call it prompting. And the better, the more information you give to a model what to do. So in the previous example, instead of only telling I need a test case for a time class, you should explain what the time class does, or maybe copy the code snippet of that class, and then it will be so much better. This is in PHP Storm with Copilot. Here I'm going to create a new method, but I'm not using a comment, and it will try to understand what I want. Still not what I want. Okay, here we go. This is what I wanted, is office hours. So just an example method that should return if right now we are in office hours or not. Now I'm gonna do it again, but first I'm gonna prime the system with a prompt, and in Copilot that will be a comment. Alright, this goes quite fast, of course. It now knew instantly what I wanted, the is office hours method. I would not call code like this trivial. Maybe it's not the most hard code to know what it is doing, but it's still something, could take quite a lot of time to write it yourself. It's also not perfect. Fun thing to notice, so left and right are the two examples, that they are actually quite different. The first one has this comment we already knew. It returns a boolean and it uses a time zone. Okay, but then here on the right side, it also only returns true if it's during the week. So that's, I think, better, and not office hours are not in the weekend. So what we need is a method that, or an answer that combines both of them. Let's see how we can improve results like this. So before I did it in Copilot, now we jump to ChatGPT, or more on a high level concept, how you can do that. So you have the concept of a multi-agent system. Those are LLMs that work together. You can do it by hand or you can program it, but basically it boils down to this. Instead of asking the LLM one thing, we have actually two agents, a creator and a reviewer, where we prime the LLM with things like, you are a creator, you are creative, things out of the box, you solve requirements, you write documentation, you know everything about PHP, Drupal, and then you ask the question, write me this piece of code. Then you do the second agent, which is in this case a reviewer. You're critical, precise, you validate requirements, and you confirm documentation. And instead of asking it an open question, you passed in the answer of the first agent. Now, this workflow really improves the result. And most simple way, you can already ask the reviewer to return improved results only. So then you don't need to go around and then the GPT will check the code and already make a version that's better. It really improves the output. You can also do this in a loop, where instead of doing it one shot, like create a review, if you go, you do this a couple of times. And there is also a method to do this multiple times, and it's also quite interesting, because then you can, instead of that it takes the first answer as base, that it can generate really different answers, make them better, and then choose the best one. So this is all called multi-agent. The final result here would be a method that has the time zone specification, weekdays only, the typecasting, the clarity in documentation, and readability. Not sure if you can read this, but I put it through the systems, and then this was the output. This is something interesting you can check later. So you have these frameworks, Crew AI, ChatDev, and AutoGen, that provide functionality to create multi-agent systems. There is also multi-model. A model is from modalities, text and image, sound and text, where you can input, so you can prompt, you can ask questions with both text and images, and you can also request answers in the form of text or images, and you can combine those, multimodal. It's a funny example for us, very interesting. There is this library Screenshot to Code. It's a wrapper around ChatGPT, so it uses the ChatGPT engine. I call it just a bunch of prompts. Really, it's not a lot more, but the outcome is quite cool. This is one of the prompts that is in Screenshot to Code. So what it does is you make a screenshot of a website, and then it recreates this website with HTML, CSS, just everything. The code contains that it uses HTML Tailwind, that it is an expert developer, and all kind of things. You should know that the real prompt is a lot longer. So in the examples before, I used really short prompts. But when you look in these examples in open source on GitHub, you will notice they use very long prompts to prime the system. So I think you can expect that this is also needed for all kinds of things you want to get out of LLMs. Let me show you how this works. It makes a screenshot. It passes the screenshot in this Screenshot to Code thing. And it starts writing the code. Now the user tells the system, hey, you need to change something. And again, that also the header needs to be orange. When I see this, I'm quite impressed. So this is not the level we had in the start of the presentation with OpenAI 4K realistic video. This is more in the realm of, alright, I see this is definitely the same site, but it's not really there. I think it's really close. So my verdict now, today, these systems for software development are not better than human developers, but my expectation is that it will change really, really fast. So, in my opinion, we should all expect that what happened with image generation will also happen with software development, so that in rather a short time, months or years, these systems will evaluate and evolve and become really a lot better. They are already super useful as AI tool for code completion, when working, when doing your software development, but they are not yet better than humans. It's really just a tool. They cannot work really on themselves, but we should all expect a really major evolution soon. Thank you all for having me here. Now there is room for questions. If you have any, feel free. Thank you. So I can throw this one in.
So I had two questions. The first one was, how did it know that you were in Amsterdam? Like, how did it get that context from your code?
I don't know. Actually.
Because it stays in your computer, but it stays in your PHP store. Or
true.
No?
Might be for the following reason. So this Copilot is I didn't use it in a single file. It was in a project. So and the project was actually in a Drupal project. So what I noticed that also in the first suggestions, there were things that are related to other modules that were in that code base. So it might be that somewhere in the code base there was a reference to Amsterdam or a local time zone, but honestly I'm not sure. What I'm sure of that it does use the Copilot, tries to use as much as possible context of other files that are in Visual Code or PHP Storm. So it knows a lot more than only the piece of text that I recorded.
And then the second one is it always needed to like write an entire story from a page of 5 pages book to get a really good answer, or?
No. What I remember a problem I had to solve was writing unit tests for quite a long class, and it was a value object that had, let's call it just getters and setters. And then as soon as it had the first example, so a test for the first getter and setter, it was very simple to generate them for all the other 10 getters and setters. So not sure if that solves your or answers your question. I would say it depends, but as soon as it knows it right, it feels quite magical, because then you can just accept or approve the suggestions. But if it doesn't, if you don't get that answer, then I would fall back to write, let's say, user stories and really add information.
Okay, goes more specific as it keeps failing, or?
Yes.
So I have also two questions. One, did you try Code Llama and compared it to ChatGPT 4?
I did a bit. About a year ago, I installed Llama 2 and also Code Llama and other variations of it. One of the problems is that I think the GPT-4 is generally really more capable of things. So it's a better model. What I hear now is that Llama 3 is really good, but then again you have a problem how to run it. So GPT-4 is available in a web UI or via Copilot, but if you want to run something like this on your local laptop, it's actually impossible. Even if you have a laptop with 64 gigabytes of memory, you barely can ask systems like this questions, and it takes minutes to get answers instead of seconds.
I run it on my laptop. It works fine.
Works fine for you?
Yeah, but I have
But that's Code Llama.
46, Code Llama 3, Llama 3, and then the 17 billion.
17. Oh yeah.
70.
70.
70.
Oh, cool.
But-
I think I
but
need
the
to start
Spanish
try
got a
this
spin-off.
again.
And the second question was, you talked about the feedback loop. How do you set that up?
Now, what I've been trying to more like experiment with this chat dev and AutoJam. So what they do, but you can also quite easily program this, is to ask a question to a GPT, and then really like create like a loop, like store the answer, do it another time, store the answer, do it another time, and then with those 3 answers you go into your next step. That's the way of programming it, but you can also just copy paste it, that you have these prompts saved somewhere in files on your laptop, and then you use them to start conversations with ChatGPT. Maybe not super sophisticated, but it does work.
All right. You want?
Maybe a last question for me. Would you recommend like everybody start implementing it in their companies?
Absolutely. Yeah, no doubt.
And then
So these 2 tools, ChatGPT and Copilot, cost $30 together per user, and I think it's super easy to get that value back out of a tool like this. There are some things you definitely need to check if you can use it at work, because you should not put secrets, of course, into it and those type of things. So for many projects it's possible, but not always. But you should check that at your company. But if you're able to use it, I would do that.
Yeah, I know that for us, for example, we are not allowed to use ChatGPT for any kind of confidential information. So code, of course, is not allowed. But we have created our own LLM. So I don't know on which technology we are using it, but as an internal. And most of the time we do a AI hackathon. So we are just doing one next week with all the employees. So not only developers, but non-technical people, to provide ideas on how we can use AI and implement AI inside the company.
Oh, cool. So you have like an alternative version or
Yes,
close
it's
for
a
your
private.
company.
We have our private
private.
LLM.
I didn't catch the entire session, so maybe you've answered this, but what are your opinions on the new JetBrains LLM that runs a Llama LLM locally on your own machine without connecting to anything on the internet, which doesn't even ship any data to the internet, so you run everything locally? Do you have any experience with that? How do you...
But what you also mentioned, like with Code Llama, if you have something locally, and if it's open, and especially if it's open source, in a way would say, yes, I prefer that. But not always, because the quality is also a concern. And it's not a given that the quality is as good as you have with these public systems. But if it is, I would of course go for local open source systems, yes. And it's actually quite cool to know that that is already possible now.
Yeah, the newest PHP storm that released, it's 24.1, so it released like a couple of weeks ago. That includes this, and it does only single line completion, but that does that through AI, and that works really well.
Oh, nice.
But it eats like 2 processors all the time, so... yes, 2 cores all the time, so 2
But
cores all...
these things will really get a lot better. So we should expect that maybe now it takes a lot of processing time, or it doesn't run on your laptop, but I'm not sure if it'll take then another month or another generation of laptops, but these systems will get better and will probably run on all our devices in a couple of years from now, because they are so capable. Anything else?
So how often do you get code generated for you where you go, wow, I would never have thought of that? And if you get code like that, how do you review code like that? Because, wow, you would never have thought of that. So how do you know that it's not doing something where you're going, I don't know.
That's interesting.
Because mostly the examples that you're showing, it's writing code where I'm going, yeah, that's basically what I would have done. And it does it faster than I would have done. But, you know, at least it's comprehensible. But at some point, it's probably going to generate something where you go, I don't know, what's it doing here?
Yeah. I'm not sure. What if you're able to validate that the code has enough quality, either by yourself or other people in the company, or maybe other AI tools that validate this or check these code, I think it would be fine. Right now, these examples are in a way trivial that you can read them fast, but as soon as these systems write whole code bases, so for example, the Drupal code base, I'm working with it for a while, but it still has many secrets to me. I'm not sure. I think what I expect is that as soon as the quality gets better, that the trust in the system also gets better. Maybe it's a bit weird, but then instead of validate everything, that many people and companies would just expect that this is the best possible piece of code that has been generated. I'm not sure about that, but I wouldn't be surprised.
I wouldn't be surprised that people start trusting it. I'm just questioning whether they should. Because if you look at the other thing that it generates, at some point it's going to make things up. And the fun thing about code, obviously, is that it's going to compile, because otherwise it's just going to throw an error. But is it doing what you want it to do? When it starts writing minified code and you're just going, okay, I'll probably do what I want.
I should have tests, of course. But
you're also making it write the test. So the watchman that's watching the watchman isn't watched.
Yeah, that will be a bit of a weird world. But as long as people are able to validate that the system works correctly, it should be good.
On that point, something that pops into my head is like it's a great help if you know what you're doing. But now I'm thinking, like, if people that are fresh from school or something, and then in the company everybody gets an account, and then it's things that we see now sometimes is that they copy paste something from, and then aren't people also going to get like really reliant on the software to write their code without understanding their own code? Like, for somebody that's very experienced and already has a lot of knowledge, it's, I guess, okay, but then because it gets more integrated into the company.
I get ya. Yes, that's probably true, that people get a bit lazy about things, and you can view this at a couple of angles, like that it's not, that therefore it's not a good thing, or that frees up time to put in other important tasks. So it has plus and min. It's not only good. It's a bit daunting, of course. But
do you have like a way in your company that you like, or
what's your
maybe
question?
like how do you think about those bad
Really
aspects of it?
use it a lot, almost for all tasks. But how we use it now is that we still read and check everything ourselves. We're definitely not at the point that that is automated. I wouldn't be surprised if there will be software companies pop up soon that are fully automated. But maybe they're already there. But I heard something that the people from OpenAI, they told to the media that much of their own internal code is written by their own systems. So then you get these weird loop. Instead of all the code is written by people, it's written by the AI that they develop themselves.
Skynet is coming. You want the microphone?
Yeah, Meta had a project like this and they stopped it because they had two AI machines that were started to write codes themselves, and they started to write their own code themselves, and they started to communicate in their own language, and they could not understand what the machines were doing. And they stopped the project because they started to say it's can be dangerous, and they did not have thought about a way to control and put some safeguard on it. Because that's what they said about a lot of companies now also doing unethical software, and they started to make virus and all these things thanks to AI, and faster than people being able to protect against this virus.
Good to know. So yeah, so good and bad things.
Yeah.
So in my eyes, it's really a big productivity boost. But I hear your arguments. It needs to be contained in a way. It's then that also has some risk involved.
If you say you use it on a daily basis, do you use ChatGPT or like the GitHub Copilot every day or something else?
Together.
Not together. Because what I do like about ChatGPT is, in your example, it was shown, he writes you like a file of code and he puts the explanation with it. So my feeling would be I can just read the explanation, learn something from it, and probably don't need ChatGPT the next time I come across such a question. So that's a point for ChatGPT in my head.
Mm-hmm. One way I use it, so Copilot, really like autocomplete, but a better version, and autocomplete was always in PHP Storm. But ChatGPT also for module development. Remember, for example, with Drush, you have just Drush generate. You can create complete service classes based from templates, stuff like that. It's also possible to do with ChatGPT, and I find it not per se always better, but as soon as there is not a generator function in Drush, you can use it already, and that makes it so strong. So also, if you know what you, or maybe especially if you know what you want, a tool like this is helpful. And if you don't know where you want to go, it's maybe not really helping you.
Yeah, if you don't know what you want, it's better to ask, for example, better to ask ChatGPT because he explains why he gave that answer. So in the case of GitHub Copilot, you put your comment about what function or what you wanted the function to do roughly, and it just generates the code. But if you, for example, are an inexperienced developer, you don't really understand what's going on. That's a big difference between the two, I think.
Yeah, I'm thinking now. Yeah, I remember too when I was learning code, how many years it took, and all these moments of totally not, you want to know what's going on, what you need to do, but that you don't get it. Yeah. It's with these examples I understand it myself, but there are many code bases in languages or libraries I don't know. I still have this super junior feeling. Not sure if it answers your question.
Yeah, sure.
I think the main point is this. We are now, for now, we are deciding if it is a realistic hamburger. I mean, the main paradigm shift will come if it will be decided by the AI. So it is the same for the code. I mean, it writes the code, it really writes the code. I use it in Visual Studio Code, Copilot. It really writes the code. You sometimes really think that it reads your mind because it's aware of the context of the project. And maybe it also speaks with some APIs, etc. But you are still the one who decides if it suits your project or your particular case or your use case. But there will come a time, I think, AI will also decide this is the most realistic hamburger. So I think this is the point for now.
It's a really elegant way of telling this. Yes, it's we're not sure that time will probably come. But it's a bit dystopian. If the AI takes over, and how will it change the world? But might happen, but we don't know. It could also be something like this is like when trains came first time 150 years ago. People were scared, like, hey, you will get sick when you're in a train because it goes so fast. And now there is transport everywhere, and it's not that bad. It might be similar with this tool. Well, maybe not. Maybe it will be more dystopian. We'll see.
It's the same as the hamburger you showed, but so it's spectacular on the evolution on that. But if we show pictures of human and stuff, we see in detail that the hands are not yet fully. So, for example, there are like 15 fingers on one hand or something, but not a lot of people know that. If they see the image, they see, oh, it's the perfect image. But if you go detailed, it's not so spectacular. So in code, how do you see that involving? If indeed it's so easy to go from developing something from scratch, but how do you see that on a bigger scale?
Now, this presentation I started with the images because there it's very clear, and it went from really bad to good or really good or okay. And with the code, still definitely not on the level like, wow, this is the best what I ever noticed. But the other argument was that it went so fast. That is, evolution happened in 2 or 3 years. So if you go from this bad picture to this realistic hamburger, but not realistic person, because what you said with the hands and maybe other things, wouldn't be that strange that 2 or 3 years from now those photos are realistic. And that's my expectation with code. That when this technology evolves, that it will just become better. And I'm not. And why? Because that also happened in other domains. For example, these images. Okay, shall we close them off? Thanks a lot. One session to go, and then Drupal Camp Gent is over.